Ladies and gentlemen, loyal Blues supporters, and the ever-watchful footy faithful. Tonight, we gather under the heavy skies of heartache and disbelief, as the Carlton Football Club takes to the field in a match billed as a must-win, and delivers one of the most gut-wrenching opening quarters in recent memory. From the very first bounce, the tone was set, not by Carlton, but by Port Adelaide, who wasted no time asserting their dominance. 5 unanswered goals, 5 stabs to the heart, 5 reminders that footy is not played on paper, not judged by history, not bound by necessity. The power stormed in and made their statement. Carlton, it seemed, had left theirs at home. As the first term drew to a close, the silence from the Carlton camp was deafening. The only noise that pierced the air came from the thundering boots of Mitch Georgiades, DBJ, and a Port midfield that ran with power, precision, and menace. Lewis Young gave the faintest glimmer of resistance. A mark in the pocket. A moment of poise. A goal. A breath of life in a half gasping for it. But even that was fleeting, just a candle flickering in a howling gale. Because the numbers didn't lie. Only 14 inside 50s for Carlton in the half. A number that screams more than it speaks. A number that echoes the ghosts of 2018, a time when goalless halves were not uncommon and despair ran deep. Then came Mitch Georgiades. Not once, not twice, but again and again, like a man possessed by the spirits of greats past, he twisted, turned, and danced through defenders. He's 192 centimeters, folks. Men that size don't move like that. But Georgiades did, with the grace of Ronaldinho and the ruthlessness of a lion. 4 goals to his name and no signs of slowing. Latchy Fogarty tried to squeeze one through from a set shot, barely brushing the inside of the post. The crowd responded not with cheers but with Bronx cheers, because this wasn't footy, this was farce. The crowd had seen this film before. A dark tale from the Brendon Bolton days, when effort was questioned and scoreboards were cruel. And despite Port Adelaide's wayward kicking, 7.10 to this point, the scoreboard still painted a grim picture. The margin didn't need to hit triple digits to sting like it had. The damage was emotional, mental, cultural. 81%. That's how long the ball lived in Port's forward half in the second quarter. It was as if the game had been played on a tilt, gravity dragging the contest away from Carlton's reach. George Hewitt, supposed to be the engine room, the spark, had just 7 touches with minutes left in the half. When your leading midfielder can barely get his hands on the ball, there's not much left to say. The inside 50 count, a lopsided, almost comical 26-8. This wasn't just a loss of territory. It was a surrender of spirit. Georgiades again. Another free. Another goal. Another dagger. On the bench, the cameras panned to Patrick Cripps, the captain, the warrior, the symbol of Carlton's fight. And yet, there he was, smiling in conversation with Tom de Koning. Not out of joy, but out of resignation. When words run out, when strategy fades into futility, sometimes all that's left is gallows humor. Does St Kilda have a spot for me too? Someone joked. Not Cripps. But it might as well have been. Because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. This isn't just a match recap. This is a cry from the terraces. A call from the heart of every Carlton supporter who showed up tonight with hope, only to watch it trampled underfoot. We're watching a team unraveling before our eyes. Not because they lack talent. Not because they lack heart. But because when the moment came to rise, they hesitated, and Port did not. The signs were all there. The midfield, stagnant. The ball movement, stifled. The defense, overwhelmed. Time and time again, Port surged through the corridor, clean and clinical, while Carlton fumbled through chaos. Mitch Georgiades was a hurricane in navy blue skies. Jack Silvigny tried, but he was tasked with wrestling a storm. There was no answer, no strategy, no cavalry arriving from half-back. The power didn't just outplay Carlton, they exposed them. And yet, through it all, the effort wasn't lacking. That's the cruelest part. They tried, they chased, they tackled. But footy isn't just about trying, it's about execution. And tonight, the Blues couldn't execute a thing. As the siren echoed across the stadium at halftime, a hush fell. Not the hush of suspense, but a disappointment. Of confusion. Of fans who've been here before and feared they'd never be here again. This was supposed to be the year. The resurgence. The redemption. And now, they're searching for answers. Michael Voss stands on the sidelines, hands on hips, eyes searching. A great of the game, a man of fire and fury, now forced to watch his side stumble through the ashes. Questions will be asked. About selection. About structure. About mindset. But perhaps the real question is this: what does it mean to be Carlton? A name built on legacy. A club steeped in pride. A jersey once feared across every ground. Tonight, that legacy felt distant. The pride, elusive. And the jersey, well, it hung heavy on tired shoulders. But this isn't the end. No, it can't be. Because footy is a funny thing. It punishes. It humiliates. But it also gives second chances. Redemption arcs. Chapters unwritten. Carlton must find its pen. The crowd will return, because loyalty doesn't waver. The players must regroup, because belief can be rebuilt. And the jumper, yes, that navy blue with the white monogram, it still means something. It has to. But for tonight, let this pain settle in. Let it sting. Let it burn. Because only through the fire can this team rise again. The power came. They conquered. They embarrassed. Now, it's up to Carlton to respond. Not with words, but with action. The season isn't lost, but the soul needs searching. So to the players, dig deep. To the fans, hold fast. To the critics, watch closely. Because Carlton will rise, but only if they're honest about how far they've fallen. And tonight, they've fallen hard.